So firstly, thanks for meeting here today. Really appreciate it. If I just outline the angle that I'm coming from, it might help to frame your answers so that people who are
Yes,
watching this can get the information they need to decide how they want to invest. Now, my YouTube channel is all about truth and transparency, and the reason I focus on that is so that I can bring more awareness to the type of risks that are involved. Now, obviously, most people know that all investment carries risk, but when we know what the risks are, it helps us to decide, how much we invest, if at all, how heavy we go in or not. And so for
that's
me,
right.
that the more transparent a company is, and the leadership is for me, the better chance we have of sort of understanding what that risk is. Now, the fact that we're sitting here talking today, that's massive from my perspective. That's great transparency. So thank you for being here. What would be nice from my perspective is to know how you feel about transparency, what your thoughts are on it. Is it important to you? How did it
Yes,
factor in your journey in getting to where you are today?
that's right. Yeah, you see, transparency is a major thing for me. That's one of the reasons I started MTI. End of March, beginning of April. What happened is a bunch of my friends over the years lost money in all sorts of online investments, and myself, being in the crypto space and the Bitcoin industry full time for the past 5 years or so, I too have lost quite a bit of money in all sorts of things. And in February this year, something like that happened again. Bunch of my friends lost money. Luckily for me, I was not involved in that thing where they lost. But when that happened, I had, prior to that, had access to a bunch of Forex traders, and I decided, I want to build a company. Well, in those days, it was just a small platform for a bunch of my friends where we can invest with the sort of confidence that, we carry the risk on the trading side.
Mm.
But in terms of somebody that, just packs up and leaves and steal all our money, that we will eliminate that risk. And so that's how the thing started. We was a small group of guys, 5, 6 guys, and eventually that started, it became a networking company because they had friends, and that's how the whole thing started. But transparency was always the key focus for me. In the beginning days of MTI, each of our members had their own brokerage account. We were able to run the human traders on a MAM system, a multi-account manager system,
Yeah.
and that was fantastic. But unfortunately, the human traders let us down, and out of that, we were very fortunate to get our hands on the EA that we're running now. But with, and I spoke to you about this before, with that came a bunch of, restrictions from the software developer guys. And we are not able to, to have every member see the live trades on their Metaphor platform simply because we had guys stealing the trading signals with copier software. So
Mm-hmm.
transparency is a major issue for us. That is, I think, in this industry specifically, that sets us apart from the majority of the companies out there. So the key focus still is transparency, and over time we will be able to find a solution similar to what we had in the very beginning of MTI.
How long ago did you switch from being a manual traders to EA only?
It was about the middle of July this year,
Right.
2019, and our website, was they started developing the website in April when we started, and only when the website went live on the 12th of August was the EA 100% full time.
Mm.
In between mid-July to about the mid of August, give or take, we were still running a combination of traders and EA.
Right. So it's purely EA now only, no manual at all.
That's right. We do have, part of my license agreement, 30% of all profits that we generate pays for the license. And so it's a vast amount of money. I expect this month, well, last month was around about 10 Bitcoin for the license fee.
Nice for the
And
developers.
this month, yeah, very nice. But part of that is, they keep a constant eye on the performance of the software, and they do make their tweaks and things. If the market always changes.
Yeah.
So part of that fee is for them to monitor the trades and to tweak and fine tune as things change and as we go along.
So just in terms of that transparency and like evidence of trading, so in the back office we got these daily trade reports. Are they from FX Choice, from your broker, or how do you generate those?
We get our main FX Choice account statement, like you normally do when you have a brokerage account, and our system imports that and just distributes it proportionately to what everybody's got in the pool.
Right.
Through our system.
So does the whatever currency you're trading in conversion to Bitcoin, and then everything's in bits from that, from the report perspective? Is that right?
Our trading account is in bits.
Yeah.
That's one of the nice things we have with FX Choice, is that the trading, the base currency remains as Bitcoin.
All right.
So, if the Bitcoin price goes up, everybody benefits. Over the last day or so, the price came down quite a bit. So, but that's how it is.
Is there any impact on you? I mean, obviously with the dramatic change in Bitcoin price, what's the impact of that, other than the obvious value, the corresponding value, but what's the impact to the trades that you're doing, kind of balance sheet, and your ability to pay everyone, all the members, the profits? Is there any impact on that dramatic change in the price of Bitcoin?
Not really. Simply because Gary, let's say you have one Bitcoin in the trading, as an example. MTI's sole purpose is to increase, or actually try to increase through our trading, to increase the amount of Bitcoin that you have. The dollar value is actually irrelevant for us. Whether it's $1,000 or $1 million per Bitcoin, our focus is to increase the amount of Bitcoin that you have. So the fluctuation in the Bitcoin price does not affect us at all.
Yeah, that's good.
If we were to change you deposit Bitcoin with MTI, if we were to change it now to US dollars and trade, then then we can run into trouble if the price drops dramatically. We benefit, or the other way around. So that's one of the reasons I kept it as Bitcoin only.
Yeah. And from my perspective, I love that feature that it's Bitcoin in, Bitcoin out, that everything is in Bitcoin. There's no conversion. Because I personally want to stack my coin, and a lot of people who are into crypto want to do the same. So just going back to the point about evidence of trading. So, right, we see these daily reports, great. Is there anything verifiable in there that we can go, yes, that matches up to this? Or how can we as investors feel safe that what you're telling us is completely accurate in terms of transparency, so that we want to feel safe about our investment? How do we know you're actually trading with FX Choice? Yeah, that the trades are actually happening in the EA. How do we know?
See, at the moment, I'm not allowed to show the live trade, so it's a bit of a difficult situation for us. If I were on the other side of the of the structure, if I were an investor, I would have exactly similar questions. So, the only actual way that a member can do it easily is to see that the trade is actually there, is to open up a MetaTrader, go on the time frames, see the opening, closing prices, the profit spreads, all of that. That's one way to see that the trades actually correspond to the market conditions. Other than that, unfortunately, at the moment, with the restriction on our license agreement, things like you mentioned the other day, I think it's not my FX book or FX Blue or something like that.
It's the same thing, yeah.
I'm in the process of trying to negotiate some sort of solution with the software guys. And, if we can do that and manage to get something like that and put it online, live, verifiable, that would mean wonders for MTI and the investors.
Yeah.
So we are working on it. I don't have an exact time frame, but rest assured, that's the end goal.
Yeah.
Is to get back to where MTI started, where every member had their own account with a broker. The funds were transferred directly between the broker and them and the member. So eventually that would be the goal or the ending place that I'd like MTI to be at.
Yeah.
Where everybody's where MTI is basically just the management side of things, and the funds goes directly between the brokers and the members.
Okay, so watch this space
that's where
for
I
that.
see we're going.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to see that. In terms of that flow, because when we were chatting before, you mentioned about, could you just talk a little bit about when someone deposits money, what the flow is? So they send across their Bitcoin, what happens in between them sending it to you, getting to the broker, and then when they want to do a withdrawal, the exit process as well.
Okay. So when you as a member deposits with MTI, you do that through your back office, MTI back office. The Bitcoin goes into an MTI wallet, and on the blockchain you'll see a couple of times a day, probably 5, 6, 10 times a day, that all the funds in that MTI wallet gets transferred to the broker. And it's for the last couple of months, it's the same wallet address that we send the funds to. So daily we top up the brokerage account with your funds. So MTI basically manages the amount of Bitcoin that members have and to keep track of the commissions and the binary and all of that. But your funds, if you deposit with MTI, only stays with us for a few hours at most. Then it moves to the broker, and from the following day you're in trade. One of the reasons we had to do it this way is to accept the funds ourselves, is in part to protect the rest of the MTI members in the pool. We had a situation a couple of months back where somebody deposited to us, we sent to the pool, but it turned out that those Bitcoin that the members sent to us was tainted in some way, and that could put the whole pool at risk. So what MTI does now, we accept your Bitcoin. It actually goes into a scanning process to make sure that these coins are legal, not stolen, all that type of things. And when we're happy, we can then send it off to the broker. If we do it the other way around, now those tainted coins fall in our pool with the broker, and it can jeopardize everything, or all members' funds in that pool. So it's a bit of a process that we go through before sending it off to the broker. And then, the flow out is quite simple. On the MTI side, there's a feature where you do a transfer from the pool to your income wallet, and from there you put in a withdrawal request. And I say it takes up to 48 hours for you to actually receive your Bitcoin. And I get the question quite a lot, why does it take 48 hours? Bitcoin is supposed to be an instant, sort of an instant payment. The main reason is, we put in a withdrawal request with a broker, and 12 o'clock South African time, I think that's 10 p.m. GMT, then, after the statement, the funds gets removed from the trading pool, we receive it from the broker, and then we pay it out to the member. So it's a bit of a process, maximum 48 hours, but usually 6-7 hours, that's the average withdrawal time.
Right. I mean, there was a news video you did about a week ago showing the number of members that you have now. It was about 3,800 members at the time, and only 59 in the UK. Most of them were in South Africa. And I was quite surprised by that, because the the sort of the product offering that you have, especially with the feature of no lock-in, being able to withdraw your funds at any time. I mean, I love that feature. And the other part about where, with your binary, for example, so when members aren't active after 7 days, they get removed from the system. So the people below them get moved up in the level. So from a team building perspective, it's really clean. I really like that. Let's say that you become 10 times more successful than you are now. How would you scale as a company? Like currently, when I made my first deposit, it took about 10 hours for it to be processed, and then got into the trading pool and to change my status to be a paid member. How would you handle that at scale?
Yeah, see, at the moment, all deposits is a manual process. So it basically just depends on what time of the day the deposit is done. We approve payments almost around the hour.
Really?
But sometimes it can happen that there's a deposit can take 12 hours. It just depends on what time of the day, what time of the week. But we are working on a system. Withdrawals will always be a manual process. I cannot automate that.
Because you're taking it from the broker.
Taking it from the broker. And even if we could automate the process, I would still like to, to verify that the withdrawals are legit.
Yeah.
We've had situations where a guy's username and password were compromised on his end. Somebody did a withdrawal, and luckily the guy contacted us before the actual withdrawal went out.
Nice.
So I like the manual processing of withdrawals. In terms of deposits, we are working on having an automated deposit system. We setting up the API at the moment so that your deposits would be instant. It will actually only reach the pool the following day. But from you as an investor or a member point of view, you'll see your status change as soon as you have 2 or 3 confirmations on the blockchain.
Cool.
So we are busy implementing that.
And when our funds go in, is 100% of our deposit go into the trading pool?
Yes.
And
how that was one of my biggest issues in the past with similar companies. I've worked with, not worked with a company. I was involved as an investor with a company a while back, a year or 2 back, where actually only 50% of the funds went to trade. The other 50% was costs and commissions and all of this.
Yeah.
So with MTI, my vision was and still is, if you deposit one Bitcoin goes into trade. The commissions surrounding that comes out of MTI's pocket, and we know that over time we'll generate profits enough to make back the commissions we paid on that.
So, I mean, I love the fact that there are no fees at any point, going in or going out. I'm kind of slightly surprised that you have this feature where there isn't any lock-in. If I put in 1 Bitcoin today and then did a withdrawal tomorrow, you'd lose out on the fees, for example. But by giving us that flexibility, giving us that liquidity of our funds, that's very attractive from my perspective.
See, for you as a member, it's quite simple in my mind. The Bitcoin that you deposit with us doesn't belong to me, it belongs to you. And if you want to take it out, you have all right to have it as quickly as possible. So, that's the way I see things. In terms of the commissions that we pay on that Bitcoin to whoever introduced you, if you make a withdrawal, at this stage it's within 7 days, because the commissions is locked down for 7 days. But you have access to your funds all the time. Should you make a withdrawal before the 7 days is gone, is over, then your upline will simply void that commission. It's just a way for members to, not to try and milk the system for extra commissions and so on. But for you as a member, you can put in a Bitcoin today, take it out tomorrow, and put it back the following day. You've got 100% control over your funds in terms of that, or access to your funds.
Yeah, I really like that. So in terms of is our capital at risk? So I put in a Bitcoin, is there any chance I can lose that Bitcoin?
Well, on the trading side, anything can happen. I cannot tell you it's definitely impossible. Things have happened in the world, but our EA is running at ultra conservative settings. If you look at our trading performance, I think that the maximum drawdown we had was about 3.6%.
Nice.
The trade is very conservative. We try to get in and out of the market as quickly as possible. The average is about 500 to 800 trades per day. Small profits in and out of the market all the time. And should something horribly go wrong on the trading side, either myself or the EA guys that's monitoring for us, they can push a button, stop everything, and let's say they close all the trades out. We might end up with a 3 or 4% loss at that time. And then we're out of the market. We can reevaluate and analyze what went wrong and then start things up again. So the way I see it, if something goes wrong, we can stop everything and we'll take a small loss, whatever trades are open at that stage. But because the drawdown is so low, it will not be a major loss.
Good. That is a very low drawdown. Most companies, they have a virtual address. Is your address, your registered address in South Africa, is that a virtual address, or can people visit your offices?
They can actually visit the office. I'm not in that office all day. I stay about 300 kilometers north of Johannesburg in Polokwane, so I've got a sort of a home office here. But we do have staff in the Johannesburg address. People can visit there. And we're also in the process of setting up an office in Somerset West, about 30 kilometers from Cape Town.
Right.
But I believe that will only be open in January or so.
So has there been any days in the past when there hasn't been enough profit to pay everyone, or you've always made profit?
No, in the beginning days, we with the human traders, we've made some losses. Our first month was absolutely brilliant. If I remember correctly, it was to the tune of 29% for that month for the members. The month after that was about 7%. And month after that, they made a loss of about 30-odd%.
Wow. So
it was a very bad time for MTI in back then. With the EA, we are very lucky in the sense that since we started running the EA, we never closed a trading day in a loss. Although throughout the trading day, there's literally hundreds of losing trades. So we're just fortunate in the sense that on statement closing at the time, it will be 0.5%, or it's very small profit sometimes. But we always, since running the EA, we've always closed in a small profit.
Good. And what's the maximum profit you've had in one day with the EA?
If I remember correctly, 2.7%, I think.
Nice.
Somewhere there. Well, that was a gross profit. Members get 40% of that.
Great. And on average, what would you tell people, like historically, what has been the average monthly percentage?
Yeah, it's quite a difficult question. I don't want to give members or people watching the impression that this is a guarantee, because it's absolutely not. But over the last couple of months, since August, we've been running between 11.5% and 12.5% per month average.
Nice.
Around about 0.5% per trading day.
Yeah, that's what I've found. I've only had about 9 or 10 days trading results so far, and it has been around 0.55% per day. The fact that we can withdraw our capital at any time, what happens when you have a team? So let's say I've got 100 people in my team, and I want to test that out. I want to withdraw all my money. What happens, my team? I might then put that money back 2 days later. What happens, my structure, in terms of Do I lose anything? Is the structure retained when I come back in? Is there a time frame on that?
Yes. There's no, you don't have to worry about that. The way I've set it up, as we spoke before, if you register an account and you don't fund it within 7 days, the account will be deleted.
Yeah.
Just so that you don't take up unnecessary spots in the binary. But if you've activated your account, you were in trade, even if it was just for 1 day, and you take out all of your funds, your account will actually remain active and you'll retain that position in the commission structure in the binary. You will never be removed. But strangely enough, we've had members asking us, we've withdrawn all our money, please remove our account, because they keep on getting statements, although it's a zero balance statement.
Right.
And for some reason they would, just ask to be removed.
So just a suggestion in terms of, I've sent in quite a lot of support tickets. Your support's pretty good. But just a suggestion, so for improving your own system, it'd be good to be able to see those support tickets in the back office. Sometimes I send an email in, I'm not sure the status of it, I'm not sure if there's been an update. Sometimes the response could have gone into my spam folder.
Yes.
Yeah, so being able to have visibility of those tickets, and if a ticket has been closed accidentally or whatever, it'd be nice to have visibility of that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Gary. I'll really give that some attention. Our support, to be quite honest, is not as quick as I would like it to be. The company has expanded quite a bit in the last, say, 6 weeks. And, initially we started with one support guy and myself, and we've expanded since then. We still have a few guys in training at the moment. So, as the company grows, we do expand. And, for me personally, I'd like to get our support, the turnaround time a little bit quicker, but we're working on it. Mm-hmm. It will most definitely happen.
Good. So in terms of the future, so like regulations, compliance, what are you doing sort of to prepare for that? What's your compliance like now in terms of, South African laws, etc.? Is there any risk to us as investors? What's your position in terms of regulation and compliance?
Yeah. See, at the moment, because we're Bitcoin in, Bitcoin out, and in South Africa, there's no regulation surrounding that. So the financial bodies in South Africa, that's a bit of a gray area at this stage. But we are always prepared and growing. So when regulation comes in, that allows authorities to regulate a business like ours with the crypto side of things, we'll most definitely fall in line. And, the way I see it is we've got nothing to hide. We'll comply and get regulated as we should be.
Great. And your system, your back office, it seems pretty unique to me, both in terms of some of the features and sort of whole flow of the software. Is that something that you've kind of created yourself or dictated yourself to developers?
I used a developer team in India, a very good company, and but I'm also a programmer myself. So when I got the source code back, you'll see the majority of small changes and features added that I'm doing myself. When they developed, they didn't develop it from scratch. It was a pre-built system that their company uses for a long time.
Right.
And then, we just modified it and adjusted it to fit in with MTI's needs.
Great. I like the fact that there's so much detail in the background. You can drill down into the data. You got lots of reports, being able to see the team members left and right, honing in on your referrals, their status, etc. The search within each of the ports is very quick as well. So I've been a programmer myself. So I quite like that. So in terms of what can we expect next from MTI? Obviously going back to that element of full evidence of trading. So is there anything else that you have on your plans for MTI?
Well, there's a couple of things happening in the background. It all depends on which side side you're on, we're about, I'd say 60% investors at this stage and probably about 40% networkers. So we have built a sales funnel for the members. In South Africa, network marketing has got a very bad name, simply because there was a bunch of schemes and scams that portrayed themselves as a networking company. So, we initially MTI was the way we put it forward was we're a trading company with networking as an optional, and later on we changed it. We don't call it networking anymore. It's now, referral or affiliate marketing type thing. So we have a sales funnel that I'm busy testing. It's already built. Some of the members already using it. Probably in the next week that will be added to the back office. So, I'd like to have MTI be seen as a investment company first, or a trading company with the additional or the optional referral marketing. Other than that, there's not much. My main focus is to make sure that the trading is working. Obviously, if the trading is not there or not there or working or not profitable, the rest of the MTI cannot exist.
That's right.
So that's the absolute heartbeat of the company. In terms of small features in the back office, my plan is, and this is now more for the networkers or the marketers, I'd like to put in a sort of a binary tab type thing where you can actually see, well, it won't be live, but say it will update a couple of times a day, your projected earnings for the end of the week, the amount of, all the formulas and things that goes into the commission structure.
Yeah.
We like to have that up and ready so that guys can sort of plan. See, I'm due for 0.1 Bitcoin or 0.01 Bitcoin end of the week, but if I do this and this and this, I can dramatically increase that.
Yeah.
That type of.
I mean, that sounds like a lot of work from your perspective to do all of that. I mean, already from the 2 weekends that I've been with MTI, I can already guess roughly what I'm going to get from the binary structure. So very nice feature, but it sounds like it's a lot of work to produce that.
Yeah, not really. All the data is there. It's just a matter of extracting the correct things and putting it in place.
Okay, great. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
The fact even that, a lot of the times when I'm talking to people, they might say, send me a list of your questions in advance, for example. And I don't mind that. That's absolutely fine. But the fact that you didn't, it highlights transparency from your perspective as well. The fact that you're open to ask, that I can ask you anything I want. So yeah, kudos to you. Thank you for that. Is there anything that you wanted?
Pleasure.
Is there anything that you wanted to say to anyone watching in terms of why choose MTI, why you're a good bet?
Yeah. I sometimes struggle with questions like this, simply because I'm not a networker or a big outgoing type of guy. I'm the guy in the corner making sure the systems is working. It's quite difficult for me to hype up people and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, if you're still on the fence with the MTI, put in a small amount and just let it run. When we are able to show the live trades in the future, I don't have a timeline on that, but it's certainly one of the goals we're working towards. And, from here until that point, and you're still happy, still with MTI, you can increase your deposit with us. But yeah, give us a try and, test all features of the system.
Yeah. Your company deserves to do well. Anyone from my perspective who adds transparency as a cornerstone to what they're trying to do deserves to do well, especially in the days that we're at the moment, sort of the wild west of crypto. So thank you for that. And look forward to see what comes next. Thank you very much, Johann. Appreciate your time.